Hi everyone, my name is Maribu Samati, and for this week's discussion, we are discussing the impact of software development approaches on project outcomes. Choosing the right software development approach is very crucial in any project management. There are actually some specific topics or factors that one may consider before selecting the software approach for any project. The following are some of the factors to consider. The first one is the project requirement. Like each project has its distinct need and limits. Okay, so Agile is better for flexible projects with regular customer input, whereas Waterfall is better for well-defined requirements and little uncertainty. Now, resource optimization is also another factor. The right approach optimizes time, it optimizes money and talent. It enhances efficiency, reduces waste, and helps the project team achieve deadlines and manage expenditure. Risk management is also another factor why people choose the kind of software development approach they choose. The approach handles hazards differently. Okay, so the waterfall approach with its sequential phase may be appropriate for projects with well-known risks that can be prepared for, while the agile one structures early and frequent testing and feedback. I think finally the stakeholder satisfaction. People want to satisfy their stakeholders, and so it will also determine what kind of software development approach they will take. Okay, now let's look at a general overview of what Agile and Waterfall approach is. The Agile methodology is flexible. It's a very flexible approach to software development, unlike the traditional methods like the Waterfall. Agile focuses on adaptive planning, evolutionary development, early delivery, and continual improvement, all with a focus on encouraging rapid and flexible responses to change. These are key principles of Agile software development that guide how teams approach software projects. And so the following principles I'm about to delve into are the key principles that Agile approach goes by. The iterative and incremental. Now, Agile splits project down into small, manageable components for iterative development and regular project direction assessment. The second principle is collaboration and communication, where Agile emphasizes regular collaboration between cross-functional teams and stakeholders. They have daily stand-up, sprint meetings, and retrospective sessions are common practices that encourage open communication and collective decision-making. There's also the customer-centric approach, where Agile prioritizes customers' needs and satisfaction. There are frequent interactions with customers or end users to ensure that the development process is aligned with their expectations and requirements, allowing for adjustments and so on. Now, Agile also, one of the principles is flexibility and responsiveness. Agile is well suited for projects where requirements are expected to change or are not fully understood at the outset. It allows teams to adapt quickly to changing requirements or market trends. The fifth principle is working software emphasis. So with this particular one, a working product is the primary measure of progress, right? So the regular incremental release of the product ensure that something functional and valuable is always being delivered, even if it's not the final complete version. At least people will want to see that whatever project we are working on is functional, right? Is working, and that at least we are making progress, even if it's not finally done or it's not completed yet. Then the last one is the continuous improvement. Agile methodologies incorporate regular reflection on how to become more effective, then tuning and adjusting the process accordingly. This ensures a process of continual improvement throughout the project's life cycle. Now, agile methodologies include several frameworks like the Scrum, the Kanban, and Extreme Programming, each with specific practices and principles, but all adhering to the core values of the Agile Manifesto. Now, let's talk about what the waterfall methodology also involves. The waterfall methodology is a sequential and linear approach to software development, characterized by distinct and non-overlapping phases. So each phase in the waterfall model must be completed before the next one begins, creating a cascading effect down the stages of development. Now, here are some principles that the waterfall methodology also follows. The sequential phases. The waterfall model is divided into several distinct phases such as requirement analysis, system design, implementation, testing, deployment, and maintenance. This structured approach ensures that each phase is clearly defined and completed before moving on to the next. Now, emphasis on documentation. Waterfall places a strong emphasis on documentation at every stage. So every stage is documented so that in the future they can always refer back, and if something is not working, like they document every process just so that if we have to repeat or we have to refer, we can always have something to go back to. You understand? The detailed documentation ensures that there's a clear understanding of the project requirements, design, and code, which is particularly useful for new team members or for future maintenance. Okay. Now, another principle is the well-defined requirements. This methodology works best for projects with well-defined requirements that are unlikely to change during the development process. It's ideal for projects where the end goal is clear from the beginning. Okay. Another principle is the predictability and order. Due to its linear nature, waterfall allows for easy project planning, scheduling, and budgeting. Each phase has specific deliverables and a review process, making it easier to manage and measure progress. We also have the testing at the end. Okay, in the waterfall model, testing only begins after the completion of the implementation phase. This means that any changes or errors found during testing might require significant revision of the earlier work. And the final one is challenges with changes. Adapting to changes or new requirements late in the development process is difficult, often costly in the waterfall model, as it typically requires revisiting and revising previous phases. Okay, so let's look at some literature analysis that I did, and some insights that I drew from the research that I did. The insights from Ivari and Huseman 2007, they provide valuable insights into how organizational culture and the nature of software projects influence the deployment and effectiveness of software development methodologies. So, first of all, the one inference I made from gathering the literature is the relationship between organizational culture and methodology development. Now, Ivera and Huseman 2007 explored how organizational culture affects the selection and successful deployment of system developmental methodologies. They also identified that certain cultural dimensions like power distance, uncertainty avoidance, individualism versus collectivism, and masculinity versus femininity significantly impact the methodology's adoption and effectiveness. So, for instance, an organizational culture that values flexibility and innovation may be more inclined to adopt agile methodologies, which are adaptive and iterative. In contrast, a culture that emphasizes stability and predictability might prefer the structured approach of the waterfall model. Okay, now the final insight or highlight that I gathered from Ivera and Huseman 2007 says that the study highlights the importance of aligning the chosen methodology with the prevailing cultural norms and values within the organization to ensure effective implementation and acceptance. Now, findings from Rajagopalan, Saji, and Sugumaran 2016. Okay, Now, the findings that I did from their paper was also, I realized that they also investigated how different project characteristics influence the suitability of various software development methodologies. So, one insight I gathered was that they suggested that the complexity, size, and scope of a software project, along with level of uncertainty and risk involved, are crucial factors in determining the most appropriate development approach. Sorry. So, for example, projects with high levels of uncertainty and frequent requirement changes might benefit more from agile methodologies due to their flexibility and iterative nature. On the other side, or conversely, projects with well-defined requirements and lower levels of uncertainty could be more efficiently managed with the waterfall approach. Okay. Another insight using their research underscores the notion that there is no one-size-fits-all methodology. The choice depends on the specific project parameters and the environment in which the project operates. Okay, so both studies emphasize the need for a nuanced approach to selecting software development methodologies, considering both the internal organizational culture and the specific characteristics of the software project. Now, this alignment is critical to the successful execution and delivery of software projects. Okay, so in conclusion, I think personally, I would choose Agile over Waterfall because of its customer-centric and continuous improvement characteristics. Because as a project manager or someone working on a project, you first of all, once the project is in line, you're making sure that you're meeting customers expectations. You are always like testing whatever it is that you are doing, and then you're continually improving on your flaws. Okay, so if you're identifying mistakes and errors, the more you continually test the things, the more you find stuff to improve. Okay, so I would go with the agile. Thank you.